Alright, so we've coloured the character, as you can see. I'm going to hit F, so when we pull back we can actually like spin around him properly. And so that's what he looks like from all angles. Looks pretty cool. Now, if you take a look, he has this W1 on his shoulder, so this actually needs to be textured. And so it's this piece here. So I'm just going to reset the, well, not reset it, but the exposure and the gamma, just put it to default settings. I know it kind of makes it look a bit dark, but we'll deal with the brightness a bit later, because what I want to do is show you how to texture an object. And so I'm going to hit 1, so it was already low res, but I did that just to make sure. And so what we need to do, I'm going to isolate it, is UV map it. And so I go to UV and UV editor, and there we go. So we've got this UV editor here. Now we've got these UVs here that come by default, and they're all messy. So we need a nice clean UV map that allows us to texture the object. So what you want to do is go to create and say camera based. And so what this does is just sets up some I call them temporary UVs. It's just to get going. Now at the minute you can see all this yellow dots and stuff, and that's because we've got soft select switched on. Hit B and soft select is now switched on, switched off. And so we've got this UV texture map, which is a mess, as you can see all the stretching and stuff, because it's camera based, which means it only projected from the what the camera could see. So it looks nice from the front, but it looks terrible from other angles. But it's a start. You see, that's all it is. It's a start. So what we can do now, I'm going to go into object mode and get this 3D cut tool, click on it, and then switch off the texture view here so I can see it better, and click and drag, and you can start cutting. You see your object. Now when you click and drag, it kind of gets a bit messy, so you want to be careful. So what I like to do is hold down shift, and when you hold down shift and click and drag, it creates the cut very quickly. It goes all the way around, and so that's this bit cut. And so now let's cut the next bit. So you want to cut along planes where the geometry is flat. So like for example, like here on this corner. Now hold down control and click on that to undo the cut. So hold down shift and just cut. There we go. So we've now cut the geometry. So what we want to do is in the UV editor, right click, say UV shell, click and drag. So we've selected everything, and I like to use the shortcuts in the UV editor instead of like looking for the tools here, because there's so many tools and you can get confused. It's you only like most of the time when you're UV and you're only using a handful of tools, so you might as well just learn the shortcuts. So if you hold down shift, right mouse button click, unfold, and then unfold again, boom, they've unfolded. And then shift, right mouse button click, layout, layout UV, boom. Now take a look at the checkerboard pattern, perfect squares. Now they seem to be haphazard like that everywhere, so what you can do is just grab them and just kind of rotate and kind of just make sure they're all facing the same way. That's what I tend to do. Just straighten them out. They don't have to be like perfectly straightened, but like that. And then grab them all again and then do the layout. There you go. Now if you take a look at the pattern here, the checkerboard pattern, they are perfectly square. So Control S, save your scene, hit 3, and look how nice and smooth they are. Okay, doke. Now if you take a look at our character, really it's only this side that needs texturing. We don't need to texture the rest of his shoulder, it's just this front piece. So it's this piece here that needs texturing. All these other pieces don't. So in this case we can grab them and just shrink them and just move them out the way, because the reason for doing that is The more space this object occupies, the better the quality the texture is going to be. So why should all these bits that aren't going to be texture occupy the texture space? So let me just make them bigger just to show you. Well, you can just grab everything and then say layout UVs. You see, why should these pieces here, they look really messy for some reason. Let me just do an unfold again. There we go. And then do a layout. There we go. So why should all these pieces occupy the texture grid when really we only want this piece here textured? So the bigger your piece, the better the quality of the texturing. So all these pieces here we can just shrink. We don't really need them. And then this piece here we can make it bigger. Now don't go over the grid. Okay, stay within the grid boundaries. And there you go. So we have this piece here nicely UV'd. And so what we can do now is you can click on the camera icon or go to image and UV snapshot. So it's the same, camera or image, UV snapshot. And we want to browse and we want to save this. And so it's in the Mega Man. We don't want to save it in the Mega Man. We want to save it in Blue Robot. Images. And this is the shoulder underscore UV map. 2K is fine. Apply and close. Boom. That's fine. Close it. We've now saved this UV map, so we can now texture the shoulder. Okay. So I'll see you next video.